We get a lot of questions from founders who are trying to figure out who they should listen to for advice. Now, this happens with founders that are in YC, founders that are out of YC, and it's kind of weird because they're saying, oh my God, there are too many people trying to help me. What do I do? And I read all these articles on the internet, and I watched all these videos on certain YouTube channels telling me what to do. How do I figure out what to do with this mountain of it? One of the things that I like to tell people is that you're going to have to pick. You're gonna have to pick a person that you listen to. Because if you try to listen to a lot of different people and just keep asking everyone for advice, well, you're gonna get lots and lots and lots of advice, and you're gonna spend all of your time getting advice and not a lot of time working on your startup. And remember, your job as a founder isn't to get people's advice. Your job as a founder is actually to build a company. And what people do almost naturally when they get a lot of advice, well, they do one of two things. One, they either just ask for advice until they get the answer they want, which is something called shopping for advice, which is pretty silly because if you know what you're gonna do, stop asking and wasting time. The other thing they do is they just ask a lot of people, they get answers here, 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 and they just take the average of all the advice they get. And startups don't work when they're average. Startups work when they're outliers. And when you start averaging advice, you just end up in the worst of all possible worlds. That you should make for yourself a rabbi. Basically, make for yourself an advisor. Pick the person that you're gonna listen to, and it's true, right? Because if you pick that one person that you're gonna listen to, well, now you have someone to really bounce ideas off of. And if you go back to the same person again and again, they start to build the kind of context that is necessary for them to actually give you good advice. People with no context on what you're doing and no understanding are generally going to give bad advice. You don't want to pick an advisor who gives you very, very clean yes and no answers. You don't want someone who's going to be prescriptive with you about what you should do. I've also found that people who give really firm yes and no answers that lack nuance, tend to not actually know that much. The other thing you want to find, which is related to that, is someone who's seen the game more than one time. If you pick an advisor who's only ever seen one company do things in one very particular way, you're going to get very specific advice that only really relates to that context. Listen to the advice itself. Think about it logically. Is this good advice? Is this bad advice? And evaluate that over time. And if the advice is good, listen to the person more.